Imagine waking up to news that the U.S. government is launching lethal attacks on boats suspected of drug smuggling in international waters, without needing permission from Congress. That's the shocking reality unfolding under President Trump's administration, and it's stirring up a storm of debate about the limits of presidential power. But here's where it gets controversial. Is this a bold move to combat a deadly crisis, or a dangerous overreach that undermines America's founding principles of checks and balances? Stick around, because we're diving into the details of how the Justice Department is justifying these strikes, and why not everyone is buying it. According to sources familiar with the discussions, a top official from the Department of Justice's Office of Legal Counsel, OLC, named Elliot Gaiser, recently briefed select members of Congress from both the Senate and the House. In this closed-door meeting on Thursday, Gaiser explained that the Trump administration can keep conducting these deadly military operations against suspected drug trafficking vessels in the Caribbean Sea and Pacific Ocean without congressional approval. More importantly, he argued that these actions don't fall under the restrictions of the War Powers Resolution, a law from 1973 designed to prevent presidents from waging war without oversight from lawmakers. The sources, who requested anonymity due to the sensitive nature of the topic, revealed that Gaiser's position hinges on a classified legal memorandum from his office. This document draws a direct parallel between drug cartels and terrorist groups, emphasizing the harm caused by the drugs that end up on American shores. To bolster his case, Gaiser pointed out that these strikes haven't provoked retaliatory attacks on U.S. military forces, suggesting that the U.S. isn't technically engaged in a war. For beginners trying to wrap their heads around this, the War Powers Resolution is a key piece of legislation passed after the Vietnam War to ensure Congress has a say in military engagements abroad. It basically sets up a clock. Once the president commits troops to hostilities, Congress has 60 days to approve or halt the action. Think of it as a safeguard against a president unilaterally declaring war without democratic input. In this case, the administration notified Congress in early September about striking an alleged drug vessel, ticking off that 60-day timer. But Gaiser told lawmakers that the clock doesn't apply here because the strikes don't qualify as hostilities or require a formal declaration of war. Legal experts have weighed in, noting that this could extend the administration's authority indefinitely against a secret list of cartels and traffickers designated as enemy combatants, potentially allowing summary executions without due process. Historically, drug smugglers were treated as regular criminals, with agencies like the Coast Guard boarding ships and arresting people, not launching missiles from afar. And this is the part most people miss. By equating cartels to terrorists, the administration is blurring lines between criminal justice and warfare, which could set a precedent for how the U.S. handles other transnational threats like human trafficking or cybercrime. Since early September, the U.S. military has executed at least 15 known strikes on suspected smuggling boats, resulting in the deaths of 64 individuals, based on CNN's count. The most recent incident happened just this past Saturday in the Caribbean, claiming 3 lives. While the administration frames these as targeted responses to a drug epidemic ravaging American communities, killing tens of thousands annually from overdoses, critics argue they might breach both U.S. and international laws. Democratic lawmakers, along with at least one Republican, have voiced concerns that the administration hasn't been transparent enough about the legal basis for these operations, raising questions about accountability and oversight. For instance, imagine if similar tactics were used against environmental activists or protesters. Would that cross the same line? It's a slippery slope that sparks heated debates. CNN has sought statements from the White House and the Justice Department regarding these briefings and their overall rationale for the boat strikes, but responses are still pending. The Washington Post was the first to report on Gaiser's briefing to lawmakers. Adding to the context, President Trump signed an executive order on his first day back in office, classifying certain drug cartels as foreign terrorist organizations. This move grants the military broader latitude to engage them aggressively. Coincidentally, these strikes have ramped up amid heightened pressure on Venezuela's authoritarian leader, Nicolás Maduro, whose regime is accused of facilitating much of the cocaine trade. Trump is reportedly mulling over plans to hit cocaine production sites and smuggling routes directly inside Venezuela, though he hasn't finalized any decisions yet. Now, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Is this justified self-defense against a drug war that's claiming lives daily? Or is it an erosion of democratic norms that could lead to unchecked presidential power? Picture this. If drug cartels are treated like terrorists, does that mean any group causing harm, even indirectly, could face drone strikes without trials? What do you think? Does the end justify the means here, or are we risking a new era of global vigilantism? Share your thoughts in the comments. Do you agree with equating cartels to terrorists? Or does this raise red flags for civil liberties? Let's discuss.